can you in detail, right, step by step, tell us the entire redevelopment process of a housing society, of a cooperative housing society?
Sure. So, for housing society to decide that their project is eligible for redevelopment, there are some checks and balances that they need to perform. For a housing society, it is important that whether their structure is sustainable or weak, or we call it typically in our technical terms dilapidated, which means it's not safe to occupy.
Right.
So, for that understanding, they need to bring firstly a structural auditor. Society needs to conduct a meeting and they needs to come to a decision that look, the building's parts visibly are showing or cracks, or they are not safe enough to occupy. You hear certain times slabs are falling, you see pillars and beams are showing visible cracks. In these scenarios, society members should pass a resolution to have a structural auditor appointed. BMC empanel structural auditor strongly recommended. That structural auditor will perform checks. They will do the tests. These are equipment they are provided with to perform tests on the pillars, on the beams, on the walls, to understand whether the structure is safe enough to just repair or it requires a demolition and reconstruction. If the structure auditor's report recommends that the building structure is beyond repairs, then the society member need to do next step, that is to decide that this building should go for redevelopment. For that, they need to take members vote in general body meeting. 51% members who are attending the meeting with majority should say, 51% majority should go for a positive vote that yes, the time has arisen and we are left with no choice. Repairs are not possible and feasible for many reasons that structural auditor report would recommend, and for that purpose we will start the process of redevelopment. Now, this step means the second part will be to get someone who will make society understand that the plot at which the building is standing, what kind of plot, what kind of development potential, we call it floor space index, but development potential to be
Right.
simply put, it holds for any offer that society should make to developer or should receive ideally from developers, to decide which is the best offer, what kind of costs are involved. So all those assessment calculation society members cannot do by themselves.
Right.
They need some expert. So project management consultants, civil engineers, architects, these are project management consultants. They need to called in for. Now at this juncture, society can take help of 79A directive principles, which is a protocol given under Cooperative Societies Act. For any time when society wants to go for redevelopment, society can follow the directive principle, which is a protocol in which first step is project management consultants appointment by way of putting a public notice, preferably in newspapers, and calling for their offers and tenders from project management consultant. After receiving multiple offers, understanding the prior experience of completing certain redevelopment project properly, understanding their knowledge about that area in which the plot is located, the ward, the corner, the city area, uh, societies should then take a very mindful decision that such project management consultant should be appointed or not, who fits to their bill, their budget, their expectations, their requirement and stuff like that. The presentation needs to be taken from the project management consultant for society to get convinced with the capability, the experience and know-how of that project management consultancy firm or individual. So let's say society has appointed a project management consultant, Mr. XYZ.
Right.
After Mr. XYZ getting appointed, as per the procedure, Mr. XYZ will perform the checks and balances on the development potential, on understanding the prior plan under which the building was developed, and will also try to see the available norms and schemes under which the redevelopment can be undertaken.
Right.
And basis of that, that project management consultant will design a proposed project scheme. In that, he will not get into very details of how the building should look, or not like that, but he will come around a fact that this is the development potential in terms of square meters. In order to develop this kind of development potential for residential purpose, you will get this much of benefit. If you are having roads around your plots, what will be the mandatory setbacks that plot will suffer or plot will have to accept. What will be the development potential coming from that? If there are any schemes of FSI available because of the location of the plot, taking benefit of that. For taking benefit of FSI schemes, what kind of premiums will have to be paid? All that cost part, the project management consultant will put it in its report, and we call that report feasibility report.
Right.
So he'll summarize all of it in such a way that society members can manage to understand the crux of it, to see to it that what is the total area that we can actually see getting built, how much society member are eligible for without any additional cost to be paid to developer under redevelopment schemes that are applicable to their plot, and what would be the surplus balance sellable area ideally in this scenario for a developer this plot consists. Once this feasibility report is drawn up, explained to society members and understood by everyone, then the next step would be for society members, either they themselves or through PMC, they can start drafting a tender document.
Right.
At this stage, society should also bring in a lawyer or a law firm which are well versed with cooperative societies laws, plus they are well versed with the land and real estate related development norms, laws, rules, regulations, and exposure and experience for other redevelopment projects. So, therefore, a law firm or a lawyer which has handled redevelopment agreement transactions, society flat buying selling transaction, understanding what kind of rules, regulations, and procedures society has to go through as per 79A for selection of a developer and completing a redevelopment project. So, in this phase, introduction of lawyer will happen or law firm will happen along with project management consultant. Project management consultant and law firm or lawyer will then together finalize the tender document. What is this tender document? It's an invite to developers to submit their offer, but in that tender document, societies in consultation with project management consultant and law firm, they will create their minimum expectation chart.
Right.
What they expect from area, what they expect from amenities, what kind of legal terms and conditions they are having, which is non-negotiable, what kind of collateral or bank guarantees they are going to expect, what is the preference for societies rehab components they are expecting, what is the minimum expectation on parking. Many things will be laid down in the tender so that there is lesser negotiation or discussion on what is give and take that developer and society has to do after they start discussing offer. It is laid down beforehand only. So it's a self-explanatory tender document that is available for developers to come and pick. And for that, sometimes some societies are putting some cost also because they want bona fide interest only to come.
Absolutely.
It should not be like just because there is a tender available, random developers should come and do it. So sometimes it's some thousands, sometimes there are some lakhs pertaining amount also that developers will have to come and put in society, which is non-refundable.
Right.
As a tender purchase or subscription cost to go about it. For this, societies first will send out public notices again calling for society developers to submit some offers, or probably there are developers who are always aware about some redevelopment activities happening in certain areas that where they hold a great amount of interest or already some ready projects. Sometimes PMCs will also recommend societies some developers to approach, or sometimes societies approach some developers who have finished some project in their neighboring or neighborhood or near locations to go about. So in either circumstances, any of the circumstances, society collects some interest by way of developers subscribing to their tender and submitting their offer in response to that tender.
Right. Okay, now my next question to you is conveyance. What should a society do if they don't even have conveyance of the land?
Mayank, I need to add one aspect on meaning of conveyance first, because
Right.
there is a lot of confusion that we observe
Right.
when society gets to hear this word conveyance, and they have some misunderstanding or misconception. In simplicity means, conveyance means ownership of your land on which the building is standing, including its parking and amenities and everything.
Right.
Okay. Now, suppose you don't have ownership of land. In what capacity you can determine the future of that land? How do you decide who will develop, who will be the developer, who will be PMC? So I have said this many times. if you don't have conveyance, that is the ownership of the land, any discussion on redevelopment is just waste of time.
Waste of time.
You're doing futile exercise, you're spending money unnecessarily on your project management consultant and your lawyers or any architect or chartered accountants that you will hire. I strongly recommend members who are in this scenario is to start taking steps to get that ownership.
Right.
And you are rightfully entitled under Cooperative Societies Act with amendments under deemed conveyance provisions. You are very much clearly eligible and entitled if you are having a cooperative housing society registered on that piece of land, and if you are owning that building, the land also rightfully should belong to you. For that simple steps, either you call upon the developer who had developed the land, who happens to be owner, to convey it to you. If there is a different landowner, you call upon that landowner to convey the land to you. If these two parties are not responding, then you take them to the Deputy Registrar's office under Cooperative Societies Act for under deemed conveyance application. Procedure is self-explanatory, very much easy to understand, and completed within 6 months to 12 months time frame. Plus, we have seen recent notification also that deemed conveyance application should not be stretched beyond reasonable time frame. Otherwise, for the delay, the Deputy Registrar will have to explain what caused the delay for his decision-making process. So, conveyance is at most needed first thing on the list for society even start thinking,
How do
talking
you redevelop something you don't
about
own?
redevelopment.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You summed it up pretty well.
So now tell me, have you seen scenarios where the society doesn't have the deemed conveyance and the building is fallen down? What happens then?
Societies have to take steps, and at a times they will have to do it on urgent basis. Otherwise, the scenario that you narrated, in that scenario, members who were staying before that scenario, and let's talk extreme scenario. What if it actually collapses?
Yeah,
Their ownership has gone.
gone.
The landowner remains landowner. Now you don't have Protection of Cooperative Societies Act to talk about your past apartment which was standing. And unfortunately, in Mumbai kind of cities, we have seen some sad, very unfortunate, tragic examples also of this nature. In Borivali, I believe some building got collapsed and members are nowhere to go now. They don't have any scope for asking for ownership of their land, because the time that they had when the building was standing and their cooperative society was registered and existing, that was a time to seek conveyance. But if the structure is no longer being occupied by your cooperative society, then you cannot seek anything for the past structure.
Absolutely.
So they'll be in a very unfortunate scenario, and not any claim that they can put on that land for any kind of development or redevelopment to talk about.
Right.
See, redevelopment means something to reconstruct.
Correct.
Ultimately, there
Correct.
is nothing left on the structure.
So
So what do you
what
call
do you
redevelop then?
Yeah. That's a very sad state of affairs that society should, I think, irrespectively do it.
And it's a
Why-
cost-wise
why
very
wait?
cost-wise it's very normal. Procedure-wise very self-explanatory. I would say it will be mostly in the society's favor if the society has registered itself, have proper documents, all the members' records are maintained properly, all the necessary dues are cleared properly, and the adjudication order that comes for society to pay off certain fees to complete the deemed conveyance. I think it's the basic thing that society must gather and do it on the priority. If anyone who is watching this video and any society members who is contemplating should we go for deemed conveyance or not, I will strongly recommend drop everything that you're doing, stop
just
everything
do
that
this
you're
first.
thinking, do this first and foremost thing. Go and register for that application in the process, because that's the most critical thing you will always be reminded about in case you are talking to anyone of redevelopment or if your building is in dilapidated condition.
Lovely. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, and I had a great time.
Thank you, Mayank, for this great opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.